Are you feeling anxious and overwhelmed and struggling to shut your brain off at night and the rest of the day for that matter? Then stay tuned because today we are talking about the one habit you need to install to create the peace of mind you desire. Hey, my dear, I am leadership coach Kathy Archer and author of best-selling book Mastering Confidence. And welcome to the training room today, bite-sized training for busy women leaders who want to lead with confidence. Because what I know to be true is most women hit this point in their career where they feel in over their heads. They're wondering if they have what it takes to lead. In my courses, in my book, and in these sessions, I teach you both the inner and outer tools to turn that around so you can restore your lost confidence and move from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and your life. Today, we are talking about how to create that peace of mind that we all crave, because I know many of us don't have the peace of mind. Instead, we have this anxiety and worry and stuff going on in our brain. What I'm going to do is pop on over and share this broadcast into my Confident Women Leaders group. And it's a group of women who are leaning into each other, learning together as they go through this journey of developing confidence. If you want to join the group, there's a link up in the notes. While I'm doing that, what I want to know is what's the word you use to describe that crazy busy mind that you have that won't shut off sometimes? Some people call it monkey mind. Some people just call it anxiety or worry, but there's sometimes people have funky little words for it. I heard one the other day about scrambled egg brain or something, share to a group. And I thought that was kind of cute. So what's the word you use to describe it when you can't shut your brain off? Because that's what many of us have. We crave this peace and quiet and, stillness, calm, content, even happy. But what we have instead is this constant regurgitation of thoughts. Oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this. Oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. That person's driving me crazy. How am I supposed to get that done? Where is the resources going to come for that? And our mind just goes nuts all the time. And what we want is to be able to do our job and move seamlessly from sort of one task to the next meeting, to the next person, come home at the end of the day, interact with our family, and just feel content. That's not what the reality is for many of us. And you can get closer to that reality if you install this one habit that I'm going to teach you today. In order to do that, though, you got to start thinking about habits first. What are some of the habits that you have? Habits are things that you do habitually or consistently or routinely. We brush our teeth every day. We get dressed every day. Those are habits. The problem is that we have many habits that aren't so helpful, and we have some habits that are good, but maybe we don't do consistently enough. So think about some of the habits that you do. I'm going to grab my notes because I had lots of great ideas when I was preparing for this. So here's some of the helpful habits we might have. A consistent bedtime or consistently eating at the meal times. The bad habit that we might have, or the habit that's not so helpful, is skipping meals or staying up really late, numbing in front of the TV or in front of Facebook, right? Those are habits that aren't helpful. We might have a helpful habit of only checking our email a couple times a day. Or we might have the habit of grabbing our phone, checking it every 5 minutes, or every time we sit down at the computer, we check our email, and that just sends us into this frenzy, and we go through these emails again and again, and we're not responding, but they're still in the back of our mind. That's not a helpful habit to have, but that's a habit that many of us do have. Maybe perhaps you have the habit of, I said that one, numbing. I want to go back to this one because I think it's really important. When we have these things that are going on in our day, many of us have the habit of trying to numb out and tune out those thoughts. And we numb out by watching TV, binging on Netflix, scrolling through. Hey, Cindy, good to see you today. We're talking about the habit. I haven't told you yet, but there's one habit that I want you to install to create the peace of mind that we all crave. So what I asked earlier, so any of you joining now, what's the words you use to talk about that crazy mind chatter that goes on in your head? Pop that into the comment box. What are kind of those words that you use? And I'm going to try something today. I realized last week that there were comments coming in that I was missing. So let me just, while I'm doing this, go back and double check that. Hopefully this is going to work for me. Maybe not. Hold on a sec. I'm hoping you guys are typing in. Okay, I think I got it, but I don't know if I can see if there's comments or not. So we're gonna try. Okay, I guess that's not it. Back to where I was. Regain my train of thought. We struggle with peace of mind. We struggle to keep our thoughts calm. And so what I asked was, what's the words you use to describe that? The challenge that we have is we have these unhelpful thoughts or unhelpful habits. And one of the biggest ones is numbing. We spend a lot of time trying not to feel, trying not to think, trying not to worry and get anxious. And what we do is we do that by, binging on Netflix, scrolling through Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, having another glass of wine, those things where we're trying to just numb out. And so that's a habit that's actually not very helpful. So when we think about some of the habits we have habits that aren't helpful and habits that might be helpful to us. So here's the one habit that I want you to install to create the peace of mind. Do you know what that one habit is? Anybody got any guesses? What's the one habit that's going to help you create the peace of mind that you desire? That one habit is assessing the rest of your habits. It's evaluating your habits on a regular basis, like daily. I want you to come back and look at what are the habits that I have, because many of the habits that we've become accustomed to aren't actually helping us. They're actually sending us in that frenzied state where our minds are like, oh my God, how can I handle this? What am I going to do? And who's going to help me? And how do I figure this out? And I'm going to fall apart if I don't, figure this out. And those things go in our minds, and that habit's not helping us. Or we have the habit of not getting enough sleep at night. Or we have the habit of falling back to sugar when we get stressed, and that just creates a whole crazy turmoil inside our bodies. We have a lot of habits that aren't necessarily getting us to the place that we want to go. And so the one habit you need to install to create the peace of mind that you desire is to assess all of your habits. So let's go through some. And the two questions that I want you to be asking are, what are the habits that I need to remove? And what are the habits that I either need to install or bump up a notch? So here's some examples. One habit that some of us have, if we are the controlling type, I might be talking about myself here. One habit we have is that we tend to take over during meetings. We know what needs to be done. We can get things figured out. And so we have this habit of walking into a meeting and, we give people a few minutes to kind of figure stuff out. But within a few seconds, we're like, okay, I got it. Do this. You need to do that. And all of a sudden, we've taken power and control away from everybody else. Everybody else shuts down. And we've added to our own to-do list. And not only do we add to the to-do list in terms of tasks that we need to take on sometimes, but a level of responsibility and stress. Instead of sharing the workload, instead of teaching other people how to be leaders, we've taken on this whole massive load because, man, we are the control type and we know what to get done, how to get it done, when to get it done, and we can delegate, but then we're going to double check and we're going to watch over their shoulder. Get it? Those are habits. So you start to evaluate those habits and you're like, okay, which habits are not getting me to my peace of mind? Which ones are? And what ones might I need to install? So the habit you might need to work on there is zipping your lip, right? It might be turning up your listening ears and letting other people engage in the conversation, maybe encouraging other people to step into leadership more, asking other people's opinions. So that's one example. The habit that we might need to, if we start to look at evaluating our habits, the habit that we might need to stop doing is letting people interrupt us. We might say, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to do this thing for, half hour. Please don't interrupt me. Shut the door. I'm not taking any calls. And then knock, knock, knock. Hey, do you have a minute? Or can you just take this one call? We allow people to interrupt us, even though we've said we don't want them to, even though we've indicated we have some boundaries and rules. We have the habit of letting people walk all over those boundaries. And so you need to cultivate that habit of saying, no, you can't interrupt me. No, this is my deep work time, or ignoring the text or phone call that's coming in. So that's another example. Ask me questions if you have questions, or pop some examples in as you're thinking about already. What are some of the habits that you need to get rid of? And what are some of the habits you need to cultivate? Okay, maybe you have the habit of taking work home with you every night. And if it's not the briefcase or the pile of stuff, it might just be in your brain taking work home with you, or maybe it's on your phone and you're checking things. I'm just going to check to see if I can see messages. No. Okay. Well, I'm going to shut that off because it's just distracting me. That's one habit. The phone sitting beside you is a habit that even if it's not on, it still is a mental distraction. So the habit that I've created is typically when I'm working, the phone is either in a completely different room or it's in airplane mode if I'm doing deep work time blocks. So I've created deep work time blocks in my morning. I have a couple chunks of a half hour or an hour where no interruptions, I don't answer the phone, I don't talk to anybody, and I am working solidly. And in those half hours, yeah, my phone is nowhere near me. But it's a couple of time blocks that I've created to get that deep work done. That's where I've been writing my book every morning. Half hour every morning, sit down, no phone, no interruptions, zone the rest of the world out, and I am focused only on that task. This morning, I didn't do that for some reason. I didn't put my phone in airplane mode. And all of a sudden, I started getting texts, and I'm like, oh. And as much as I tried to ignore them, they still disrupted my focus. And so, lesson learned, when you're doing deep work, put your phone in airplane mode. So back to the habit of taking work home with you. Maybe the habit you've gotten into is that every day you take work home with you and you keep saying, I'm not going to do it today. You mean to do it differently, but it still happens. What the habit I want you to cultivate there is maybe just setting a rule about twice a week, I don't take any work home with me. So not trying to eliminate it completely, because you're a busy lady, you've got work to do. You're either running a business or an organization, or, have a team that you support. Maybe it's really not realistic that you never work in the evening. Maybe it's not really realistic that you're not on call. But could you either have a couple nights a week where you don't, or that you set a time frame, like, from 5 till 7, I don't do any work and I'm completely focused on my family or myself. So think about those habits that you might need to cultivate. Another habit we have, thinking that nothing's ever going to change. Oh my God, this is just the way it is. That person's a jerk, always going to be a jerk. I'm going to have to deal with him. There's no way my team is going to support me. They just, they constantly get it wrong and I have to run behind them and fix it. So I may as well just check up on the work anyhow. I'm never going to be able to figure out accounting stuff or spreadsheets. It's just something I'm going to have to suffer with for the rest of my life. It's that victim mentality. And many of us have the habit of flipping there immediately. We have that habit of the second something happens, we fall back into, oh my God, poor me. I can't figure this out. No one's here to help me. The shift to making that habit a helpful habit is to recognize that. Recognize the minute you're in that poor me victim state and flip it right away to becoming response able. Okay, I get it that guy's a jerk. I get it that my staff keep interrupting me. But what can I do about it? What's the mindset shift I can have? What's the action I can take? What perspective can I see it from differently that will change this? Maybe that guy is still a jerk. I had one client who definitely worked for a jerk, and he never changed. I mean, the 6 months that I worked with her, Nothing about him changed. But the more she started to cultivate compassion for where he was at, letting go of seeing everything that he said or did as a personal attack on her and realizing that was more about his character and his stress load than her, the more she started shifting her perspective on how she's seen him, the less it impacted her. Yeah, he's still a jerk, but it's not that that has to define who I am, or it doesn't have to define my day or my experience of my day. And man, in that 6 months we worked together, things totally changed for her. But he did not change. Not gonna lie, that guy did not change. But she did. She took responsibility for her experience of her day. And instead of that anxiety that she felt every time she was around him or every time he came into the room, she shifted it and found the peace of mind she desired. She was able to let go of attachment to everything he said. She was able to start to take responsibility for the experience she wanted to have in her leadership journey, not just where I am today and, oh my God, I'm putting out the fire, the crisis of today. She was able to step back and go, okay, yeah, that's his panic attack. It doesn't have to be mine. And the more and more she did that, took responsibility for her thoughts, took responsibility for how she was feeling, the more her day-to-day experience changed. And yes, she started to find more of that peace of mind she craved. Maybe you have the habit of drinking coffee to keep you going, right? Many of us have this go. I got to get through this meeting and didn't sleep good last night, but I'm going to have another cup of coffee. The shift in habits that you might have to make is getting up and going for a walk more frequently. Finding something else to drink that's not like that up, down, and if you don't have it, you're like falling apart. Starting to exercise more gives you the boost of endorphins that you're looking for, that coffee is the sort of substitute for. There's nothing wrong with coffee, but if you've got into the habit of having more than a couple or 3 cups a day, you probably need to recheck that habit and think about, maybe I need to create the habit of drinking more water. Maybe I have to create the habit of finding other ways to re-engage myself at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I am at an energy low. So that's another example. Okay, last one. And please, if you have more, whether you're watching now or on the replay, pop them in. I want to know what examples you have as well for habits that you know you probably need to change and habits that you might need to install instead of doing that aren't helpful. So last one is, we have a tendency to see lack and problem-focused and issues all the time. We have a tendency to notice where we don't have time, how busy we are, how overwhelmed we are. I want you to shift that. A more helpful habit would be to start seeing where you have white space. White space, for those of you that don't know, is, when you, good old days when we had calendars that were like books. Some people still use those. You'd have, 9 to 10 o'clock, you have an appointment, and 2 to 3, you have an appointment. In between 10 and 2 was white space. It was these little pieces of time where you didn't have something scheduled. And there are those times in your day that you have the opportunity to decide what goes in there. I hope your complete day is not scheduled. And if it is, that's a habit you need to change. It's the habit of scheduling time in for yourself first. So if you want to go for a 15-minute walk every day, put that into your agenda. Create that habit. The habit needs to be there of writing in time for yourself. If you want a massage once a month, book it and get it on your agenda. And start to see where you do have time for things. Start to see the opportunities that you have available to you for having lunch outside the office, going for a walk, having conversations with your employees, whatever it is you want to do. Shift your focus. The habit we create is looking at, I'm too busy all the time. I don't have enough time to go pee or have a drink of water, let alone have time to have that conversation with the staff. Shift your focus to, where is the time? Where do I see little pockets? And it might only be 5 minutes or 10 minutes here or there, but they're there, I promise you. And when you start to see that white space, you see the opportunities there to create some of that. All right, so that's the whole focus today. We are talking about how do you create the peace of mind? You install the one habit of assessing the rest of your habits. And the two questions you need to ask are, what are the habits that I need to stop doing that aren't helping me? And what are the habits I need to either ramp up or start doing? And take away some of those habits that aren't getting you where you want to go and make space for new habits. It's that habitual not thinking about what we're doing that gets us into trouble. By not paying attention to the habits you've cultivated over the years, that's how you add on the pounds, your marriage falls apart, your team starts to turn into drama and conflict all the time. It's because you create habits of not noticing what's going on. And so create the habit of noticing what habits you have and start to change that. The guide sheets today there's one that I don't think there's any specific guide sheets. I put 3 links in the notes. There's one that's the training I did a few weeks ago on cultivating the habit of inner awareness. And that's a huge, huge habit in all of this work that we're talking about. So I've put the link there. In that link, it's the Facebook Live that I did, and then there's a bunch of guide sheets there as well. The second link that I put in is one, I should look because I'll say it wrong. See more. Oh, wait, just a sec. Okay. The 3 tips for making inner awareness your new powerful habit is the one that I just talked about. It's the Facebook Live. And then the other one is the 20-minute weekly planning habit. And then the third one is create your plan for survival mode. The 20-minute weekly planning habit is a video I did a couple years ago, I think. And it is important because I think this is where you start to evaluate your habits. If you sit down for 20 minutes and plan your week, oh my God, your life will change. If you spend 3 minutes every day planning your day, your life will change. It's that we just hit the ground running when we get to work that creates chaos in our lives. Slow it down. Be more mindful and intentional about what you want to get done that day. Be clearer about the 3 priorities, because that's what you'll find in this video. 3 priority things that you need to do every day. And that's how you're going to create that peace of mind. Because let's say, for example, one of the things that you know you need to do today is make a phone call. A, it's not on your agenda. Okay, well, it's not scheduled in, so you're just praying you'll find time to do it. B, there's going to be 6 people that will interrupt you, fires, an email, a crisis, drama, something's going to interrupt you and detour your way off track. And so that phone call, chances of that phone call getting done today, slim to none. But so tonight you're going to lay in bed, you're going to go, oh man, I didn't make that phone call. And that's a really important phone call I got to make. And tomorrow it's going to be like, what's the movie? Groundhog Day is going to go all over again. When you create that habit of A, becoming more mindful, and then B, doing a weekly review and a daily review, that's when that phone call is going to go into your top 3 to-dos every day. That's going to be like a sticky note on your desk. Nothing else happens till those 3 things get done. That's when you're going to create the peace of mind. So go grab those 3 kind of links that I've put up in the notes that are going to help you move forward. Create that habit. Every single day, say, what habits did I do today that were helpful? Which ones might I want to think about getting rid of? And when you do that, when you start to be more intentional on the habits you're using every single day, you're going to cultivate those habits that move you from surviving to thriving, which is the peace of mind you crave in both your leadership and life. Go make the rest of your day awesome, my dear.